Welcome to all who come to hear my tales. Tonight we travel to the Sunflower State, a land where helium was discovered, has over 500 caves, and is the birthplace of Pizza Hut and the Icy. But we are not going cave diving, buying helium, or getting refreshments tonight. Instead, we're on the trail of a monstrous creature, a spawn of the underworld, if you will, one that guards the gates to hell, the Hellhounds. Before we get started, I have a small thing to ask of you. Like, follow, and subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell overhead. It is a small thing for you, but it does help the channel to grow. Now, on to our story. Hellhounds, Demon Dogs of Kansas. My father, being a pagan, laughed at the concept of hell and Satan. Growing up, I never believed in God or the church. I was never raised a Christian, but instead lived my life by the old ways and old religion. One major holiday was Samhain, which later evolved into Halloween. While everybody else celebrated Halloween and Christmas, we would celebrate Samhain and Yule. However, my friends were mostly Christian, although we had different viewpoints, but we were still friends. As we grew older, me and my best friend Bobby stayed close. Bobby loved the supernatural. Me being pagan, I could tell him stories and tales of the supernatural he would not hear or find elsewhere. I have experienced a few things that, to say the least, would be considered strange. We decided on a road trip, hoping to explore some spooky places in the Midwest United States. This would be a good thing to do before we started our college days. Being how we were from Missouri and close to the Kansas border, we decided to start our tour at a Hammond Cemetery in Stool. It is a small town between Lawrence and Topeka, Kansas. The graveyard has been referenced as a portal to hell. I laughed at the idea, but my friend, being a Christian, really wanted to see if it was true or not. So off we went. Most people would visit graveyards and cemeteries on Halloween night, which my friend wanted to do. But I let him in on a secret. Samhain was a 3-day month in the Celtic calendar. Halloween originated as Samhain. We may experience more activity after Halloween, being as Samhain was a time to honor the dead. A time when the dead would come back and visit the living. When the veil between our world and the world of the dead was thinnest. A few hours later, we found the small town of Stool, Kansas. The graveyard sat across from a small church. We tried to ask a few locals about the legend, but they seemed aggravated with our curiosity. We decided to hide the car and sneak in the graveyard at night. It was a beautiful night with a waxing moon overhead. A waxing moon is a cycle of the quarter moon becoming the full moon for those who do not know. The cemetery had no lights, but we did not need any. There was plenty of moonlight to guide us. We found the abandoned church with no roof or windows. Although it did have 7 holes in the wall where windows were at one time, a sacred number to the Christian belief. It was rumored that the abandoned church was a hotspot for satanic activities. Quite a contradiction to the holiness of a church of Jesus Christ. Inside the church was said to be the gateway to hell. Every Halloween, Satan himself was said to visit the grave of his daughter, a grave marked witch. As we came closer to the building, lights came on inside. We heard chanting and very dark music. There was nothing in the church. No roof or electricity. So what we were hearing was impossible. But we did hear it all the same. Of course, this upset Bobby, but I insisted on going on. I was now more curious and wanted to see for myself. As we walked closer, we heard a growl. It was loud and sinister. Around the corner came a massive animal that I thought had to be a bear. The canine was huge, making my Great Pyrenees and Mastiff look small at home. Smoke rose from its black fur. The eyes glowed red, and acid dripped from its mouth. His paws were larger than our hands, and it smelled of sulfur and ash. We slowly backed away as we heard demonic laughing from inside the building. Then we heard another growl coming from the other corner. We kept backing up as the two continued growling at us. I said a quick prayer to my goddess Morrigan, who has power over canines. Once again, we heard the laughter as a beast walked toward us. With that noise, we ran hard back to the gate and our car. The hounds were hot on our tail, and they were about to catch us, as a shadow ran across their path. This made them stop, and at the same time enabled us to escape. The beast stood at the gate growling and howling, as if a hound dog had just treed a raccoon or a cat in a tree. We saw 4 more hounds as they ran patrol through the graveyard. That's a total of 6 beasts that we saw. Clearly a satanic number. I carry a necklace of a raven with me daily, as my goddess is a goddess of ravens and wolves alike. The necklace lifted from my chest, as if an unseen hand held it, looking at it, and then dropped it back down. It was then that we saw a most disturbing sight. A dark and tall shadow left the old building and walked through the graveyard. It had horns on its head. It looked at us with the same red eyes the demon dogs had. At this point we left. No words were spoken. I never believed before, but now I do. There are demons out there. But my goddess is too. I believe the shadow stopped the hounds or her. And she also lifted my necklace. But the hellhounds and other horned figure I do not know about. However, we continued our road trip, finding more adventure in the neighboring states. But that is a tale for another time. I hope you enjoyed this one. Return next week as we explore more states. Continue our cryptic road trip as we explore Kentucky next weekend. Let's find out what dwells in that state together. As always, beware of those that dwell in the Shadowland.